Creation's Journey to Life, Day 34. Dear Godly Sex. See the Trap by Adam Curtis for context as well as the Century of the Self. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize the importance of sexual reproductive organs in the continued existence of life on Earth, and the human specifically. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not realize that the creation of a healthy body is not dependent on the spirit of consciousness, but on the physical body. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not see that no God is present during sex except the godly experience of orgasm, and that regardless of faith or belief, atheist and Christian, and Buddhist and Muslim all produce offspring in exactly the same way, and then program the minds of their children to become parrots of the parents. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to place faith in science and the human mind, when the humans as mind is incapable of creating new life, while the physical as form does it as a matter of its daily task, and has for long before human consciousness's history began. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to make the act of sex all about the mind, when it is all about the body, and that I have not honored and respected physical sex as the real miracle and godly act that it is in giving sex its rightful place as the critical point of life on earth, and that I have abused sex as a way to control the mind with energy to form false beliefs about sex through programming children to follow in the footsteps of parents in the abomination of consciousness, devastating the physical world in the pursuit of happiness in the head and the fictional heart of love, while the evidence is clear. Consciousness, as the mind, is clueless and untrustworthy, and only able to deceive and mislead with no respect for life in any way whatsoever. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not see how I have created images in my mind representing sex through the consumer industry of porn, which misrepresents the act of sex as merely the purpose of self-interested satisfaction within desire of the mind, while sex in fact is the most holy act of life creation in the total existence of the human and life in general on earth. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not see how the money system and consumerism and life on earth is dependent on the reproductive ability of all physical life forms, and that without this reproductive ability, life as we know it and exist as would not exist at all. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not see the contradiction in making sex a scary, dirty thing in the minds of children, when in fact it is the most natural part of the human, which should form the basis of the creation of life on earth in respect and honor as the real God that makes life possible, and that the mind as the tool that is abused should be disciplined to be following principles of morality that are best for all life as the physical demonstrates it, and that wherever the mind has been used as the authority about life, the physical result of pairing, especially between human genes, have produced, in many cases, human children that are not the highest version that is possible if the physical laws and rules are followed, but instead, the irrational energy called love has been allowed to decide how the physical should be paired, in spite of the evidence that this seldom produced the best body for a healthy mind. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not see the benefits of genetic pairing to produce a psychologically stronger human, and that in spite of the evidence that the elite have used this type of pairing to keep control and have promoted indiscriminate genetic pairing for the commoners to produce a weaker human, easier to control through psychological manipulation, through religion and economics, to have pliable slaves. I refuse to see and have deified free choice and the right of opinion and the freedom of consciousness playing into the hands of control, harming the physical form of the human race in general in every way possible. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to deify the intellect of the mind when it is clearly completely inferior to the intellect of the physical form, and that the mind intellect is only a limited energetic parasite that can only exist through control and greed and fear and competition feeding, and subject to the energy produced by the physical world. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not see that sex should be the sacred act of creation that follows the best possible guidelines to produce the best possible human to bring the world eventually to physical equality within the characteristics that are best for all life in every way. I forgive myself that I have accepted and allowed myself to not see that the abuse through religion and consumerism can only happen through making the real act of creating life on earth dirty and evil. I commit myself to restore the physical creation process as sex and reproduction to its rightful place as the real creative force on earth. I commit myself to show how genetics used to produce what is best for life will produce children that are more likely to be healthy and psychologically sound. I commit myself to show that sex is in fact the act on earth that should be based on communication, intimacy, respect, self-honesty, and clear deductive reasoning to bring together that which is best for life. I commit myself to show that removing sex from the mind as religion and consumerism and brainwashing will produce a human race that will in time be freed from the irrationality of consciousness. I commit myself to show that physical reproduction is the real miracle on earth that should be respected. I commit myself to show how little the human mind really understands and how much more the physical form already knows about itself as it exists without the need of a human race. I commit myself to show that which gives life and creates life is in fact God on earth. I commit myself to establish a level of living principle that will no longer allow the abuse of life through fueling irrational desires through projecting images of pornography into the mind. I commit myself to show that consumerism and religion are in essence the evil produced by a mind, personality, that has no clue about what life really is. Somebody help me understand what makes me starve in a world of plenty. I commit myself to sex education that values life. I commit myself to research to establish how genetic pairing can produce children with the best opportunity of an excellent life experience. I commit myself to the design and production of humans that are psychologically sound. I commit myself to restore respect for the intelligence of the physical world. I commit myself to establish sex as the foundation of life on earth as sacred respect. I commit myself to show that those who benefit from the abuse of sex through desire implants and sexual innuendos of the evil of sex are the real evil on earth.